Good evening. I'm here to call the meeting to order for the TV Toastmasters for February 1st, 2018. And I'd like to welcome our new member, Phil Barst.
All right, Phil.
And we have 4 speakers and 1 general evaluator, and the word of the day, and the grammarian word, and the all counter. So with any further ado, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our Toastmaster, Carrie Cormack.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I would like to welcome our visitor today, and that is Jason Duncan. He has been here before, and he has come back. Boy, welcome you, Jason Duncan, and you're in for a great treat. Would you, there's an agenda right there. See that on the, there's an agenda.
Thank you.
Okay. Our meeting today, we will have 4 speakers, which is unusual. Normally we have 3. We will have 4 today, and 3 of us are doing an icebreaker, and one of them is doing, one is going at a contest speech. So we are really privileged today to have all this new stuff going on. We do provide a word of the day, and as we get finished the planned speeches part, then we go to the general evaluator, which will be turned over to Sean when that time comes around. And I would like to welcome our grammarian for the word of the day. And I've known her all my life, Carol Cormack. And the word of the day is purpose. You do things with a purpose, and it's a planned reason that you do things. And we do a lot of things on purpose in Toastmasters. The challenge is to use that when you are up here at the lectern. Use the word of the day if you can, and I will be counting your ums, ahs, you knows, us, so's, any of these killer filler words. And I would like to introduce our first speaker today. Our first speaker will be doing the Pathways Icebreaker, or an icebreaker, and it's 4 to 6 minutes, and it's Saket Tripathi? I always mess up on your name. And welcome.
So, hello friends. So topic for today is cryptocurrency. How many of you know about this term, cryptocurrency? Oh, good. So let's start with that. What is dollar? What is rupee? What is euro? And what is its mean to dollar mean to US? Euro means to Austria, rupee means to India. It's a currency against the country. So just imagine that, let's suppose that internet is a country, then what will be its currency? There should be some currency on which, on one podium where everybody can use that currency. Let's think in that way, that if I have to send money to India, to my wife, or you have to send money to China to someone, then how we can send? We will send through a bank and the counterpart bank in India, and then finally it will reach to my wife. So in that process, the US bank will deduct some money, then again India bank will deduct some money. So out of $100 if I will send, my wife will get $80. But if I will send a Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, so that term is called blockchain, is a concept in which you can do a transaction peer to peer, and it's blockchain is a backbone of this term cryptocurrency. So nowadays you are hearing many things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. All these are a cryptocurrency against the over the internet, and the backbone for this is a blockchain. So what will happen that if I have to send money or Bitcoin to my wife, so I just need a Bitcoin, my wife Bitcoin address, and where I can directly send a Bitcoin from this address to that address. It's a simple, very simple, how you are talking on a Skype. If I want to talk to my wife, I can just open my iPhone, I will have dial a Skype number, and then directly I can talk to her. The same way this Bitcoin and blockchain works. I can directly send this Bitcoin to my wife to his peer-to-peer address. So this is called a cryptocurrency. And let's thought in other way. If I have to buy some goods in China, then how I can buy this? Either I have to send a dollar and the merchandiser will deduct based on the yuan, Chinese currency. Instead of that, if we'll have a global podium where I can directly send this Bitcoin or Ethereum, and directly that merchandiser is accepting that. So based on that, he will take this Bitcoin and he will send me the good wherever he is. So internet is a country, and the cryptocurrency Ethereum, all this is a cryptocurrency for that country, which is called a internet. So let's go back to 2009. We have to think that how it been started. So it's a very interesting story behind that. There is one guy, Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody knows about this guy till today. He created all this about the blockchain, and he published in a white page in the internet, and from there everybody is accepting that and popping up their own cryptocurrency. So this cryptocurrency started from the 2009, and first thing with the Bitcoin people buy was a pizza. That time it cost was only less than $1, and if we know the price of Bitcoin today, it's almost $10,000. So just imagine how much if somebody has invested in 2009-10, and how much rich people are because of that. It's $10,000. It's a huge money. But I am not talking about here to put your money in that. It's a hard-earned money, and you can't invest blindly. So what is happening right now in a global scenario is there are two type of people. It's a two group. Half of the group is thinking it's a bubble, it's pure bubble, and other half of people are thinking that let's come up with a figure. The overall global value of a money is 200 trillion. It's a 200 trillion. And cryptocurrency net worth is today $500 billion. And I am talking about $200 trillion overall global money value. So the people who are bullish on cryptocurrency and Bitcoin they are telling that there is still so much room for Bitcoin and all this cryptocurrency to grow over the time. So from 500, just imagine the exponential growth if it will grow from 500 billion to 200 trillion. It's more than 400 times. So it's a huge money. But money is yours, and it's a hard, as I told that it's a hard money. So if you want to invest, just based on that your risk appetite, you can do that. So and other than that, I just want to based on my research, it's very safe. Blockchain is very safe, because if I am doing any kind of transaction, let's suppose I am sending money to Carol. So what is happening in a blockchain? It's a ledger fund. Every system across the network, it will have all the details that one Bitcoin minus from my account and one Bitcoin added to the Carol account. So it's a very safe, and nobody can break. Till date, nobody has break this and get into the system. So it's a hacker proof till date, and the growth is immense. So it seems like it's a future currency, and people are investing and they are making a hell lot of money, and even people are losing. So invest if you have that risk appetite. With that, I'm closing my speech. Thank you. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you for that speech. I wish I understood it, but it sounded like you did a lot of research on that. Thank you very much. We will now have 2 minutes of silence for the evaluator to make some notes. And if you'll let me know, Susan, when 2 minutes is up. Welcome back to TV Toastmasters. We now come to our speaker number 2. We have an exciting new adventure today, and it's the Pathways Icebreaker that Suzanne Whitrock will be doing, and it's from 4 to 6 minutes. And if you will let us help us welcome Suzanne Whitrock. Yay.
Hello, Mr. President, fellow members, guests. This is my icebreaker. So I tried to do it kind of cold turkey and not put a lot of notes down. I was actually born and raised in Austria, and some of you may hear an accent. People always say you have an accent, and my son is shaking his head right now because he always says, "Mama, what are they saying? What kind of an accent? What are they talking about?" So it's kind of funny because he grew up hearing me speaking like this all his life, and he doesn't hear an accent. I had an awesome childhood in Austria. I consider it a outdoors childhood because we spent a lot of times outside. And when you hear people talk about, oh, you know, I walked in the snow up to my knees, no shoes. Well, that was kind of me, really. We used to walk to school and home from school in the snow, maybe not up to our knees, but ankles for sure. But at least we had boots on, so that wasn't too hard. At home, we didn't have a lot of money growing up, but as kids, I have 2 sisters and 1 brother. We never knew that we had no money. You know, it was one of those things. It was great. We just didn't know. There was not a lot of heat in our house. We had 1 stove in the kitchen that you would heat with fire. I mean, with fire, of course, with wood and coal. And in the evening, when it got really cold in the bedrooms, my mom, I remember she would take bricks and she would put them in the oven, and then she would put wrap like towels around it and put them at the bottom of our feet. That would be our heating blanket. And we didn't care. We didn't know any difference, so it was still working. We were still warm. Another great thing about my childhood, I remember, was working out in the fields. There's a lot of farmers where I grew up, and my mom was helping the farmer next door, and in exchange, not only did she get some vegetables and eggs and all that good stuff, she also had a little plot that she could put her own, vegetables there. And one of the greatest things I remember is as kids, we would be out there in the field in the summertime when the potatoes were ready. And so here was the old tractor going in the front, doing its rotating, and the potatoes would fly up in the air, and we, the kids, would run behind it and grab those potatoes, throw them in the bucket, and then dump that onto the tractor. But the great thing about it was when we were hungry, we would make fire on the side of the field. Just whatever we could find, we would make a fire with that. And then we would take the raw potatoes and we would just shoot them into the fire. And we would wait for like a half an hour or whatever until they were done. And we would the boys would always, they would show off, of course. They would bring those hot potatoes out. And they were so black, full with soot and ashes, but we wouldn't care. We would rip them open. We would just eat them right there on the field. And now when I think about it, we had these dirty hands. I kind of would like to know how much dirt I ate as a kid. A lot of dirt, I'm sure. And I grew up with a lot of traditions as well. Austria is mostly Catholic, so we, of course, grew up, the Catholic traditions and all the holidays and all the different things we were doing. And it was really, really a lot of fun. It's kind of all ingrained in my DNA, I guess. I came to the United States about 25 years ago after I had met my husband, or of course we were not married then, but we came over here, we got married. Sadly, he did pass away about 4 years ago, but I'm still here. I have a great son from this marriage, and he's one of the reasons why I'm here at Toastmasters, because he is so good with computers and with the camera. And through all kinds of great circumstances, we ended up coming to Toastmasters, and so he's taping for Toastmasters. And I get the benefit of learning and being part of it all, so that's really neat. About 2 years ago, I started kind of a new venture in my life. I've always loved alternative healing, and I learned about something called pranic healing, which a lot of people are not familiar with. most people know what Reiki is. So if you think of Reiki, this is very similar to it, except we're not touching people. It's just all without touching. You know, you administer healing through divine energy. It's a really, I just love it. It's a great way of helping people. I always love a good challenge. Sometimes when things scare me, then I know it's good because I have to, you know, I just have to go to the limit, like to the edge. You only know that you are at the limit when you are at the edge of something, right? Just before you're ready to fall off, it's like, you know, okay, this is how far I can go at this point, and it's good. That's what we need. That's how we grow. That's how we learn. So last year, I had this thing after I'm working at a school as well. When the school came to an end, I was kind of getting burned out, stressed out with a lot of things that was going on. I thought I needed to get away. I just want to be all by myself. Thank goodness, through a friend of mine, I was able to go to a cabin in the woods in the middle of nowhere, to stay there for 3 nights all by myself. No electricity, nothing. It was awesome, and it was so scary. I only made it through 2 nights. But it was really fun, and I swear I heard Bigfoot out there, somewhere in Indiana, wherever it was. So anyway, I just can't wait to see what life brings next to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. That was very fascinating, and we will have 2 minutes. We had quite similar backgrounds growing up. 2 minutes on the clock for evaluations. Thank you. Our next speaker is someone I've known a long time, all of my life, in fact. And that's me. Carol Cormelink. And this is the introduction. I haven't started my speech yet. The exciting world of pathways will be introduced with the Pathways Icebreaker, a wonderful opportunity to know 3 facts you may not have known about your fellow Toastmaster. Let's get a hearty welcome to Carol Cormelink, Pathways Icebreaker. I have been a Toastmaster for 21 years, and I'm just now starting over with the new Pathways. I'm learning. I thought I was on the top of everything, and I found out with the ratings that they have that I'm probably middle as an accomplished rather than exemplary, that I'm making world records. I too we were poor when we were young, but I didn't know it because my mother was a prayer warrior. I was one of 7 children, and when we had no food to eat, she'd pray, and somebody from the church would come knocking on our door with a bowl of stew or something. And I can remember the story of my brothers walking along the railroad track to find potatoes or something, and we would have food there, but I didn't know that we were poor. And my mother, when we moved to Kenwood and had a 28-acre farm, we had cows and pigs and chickens, and we had our own food. And I didn't really appreciate my background, and everything was, we didn't have all the antibiotics and everything poured into our cattle. We had whole milk to drink, and I said I would love to have whole milk, and I asked the guy in Milford about, I'd love to come up and have some whole milk. He said, I can't sell it to you. I can't give it to you. I can't leave it on my porch and let you steal it. It's against the law. You have to have all the pasteurization and everything for that. So I have learned quite a bit that when we had our cows, the feed sack came in very beautiful fabric. And my mom made dresses out of feed sacks. And I thought, I would be laughed out of school in this day and age if I went to school in a dress made out of feed sacks. And yet it was very beautiful, and I had a good time. Toastmasters is my #1 use of my time. I spend quite a bit of time. I'm a member of 3 clubs, treasurer of all 3, and the area director for 4 clubs. So it keeps me busy, and I love it. I keep learning. I had 30 years of experience with the zoo, and that was sort of a dichotomy because I hated biology in high school, and I ended up being a zoo tour guide for 30 years. And I learned I have held more animals in my hands. I couldn't even look at the hissing cockroaches when the insectarium opened at the zoo. I would go by them and not look. In one of the tour guide meetings, they're passing them along, and I go, oh, I don't want to, I don't want to hold that. Well, I found out that the hissing cockroach, it's heavier than the Panamanian cockroach, which has great big light wings and covered my whole hand. And so that was kind of interesting. So after that, I realized that cockroaches, you will never get rid of all of them. They are here forever. You cannot kill them. They have fumigated, and the egg case is so strong that even the worst insecticide will not permeate it. You can't kill all the 28 roaches in the roach case. But I learned that we have an acquired repugnance to insects because in other countries, they eat insects as food. And we had a picture of a lady from India that they were eating, there was a basket of cockroaches, and they were like 5 cents or something like that. The zoo had to get rid of that poster because people didn't like that. They just couldn't stomach that, eating that. So I learned a lot about animals at the zoo, and I had a new respect for animals because I never really liked animals all that much. We had cats and dogs, but I wasn't crazy about them. That's one of my passions is Toastmasters. My next passion, I am a clutterer. I don't put things away. When you don't put things away, pretty soon they become piles. They become mountains. My living room, if you knocked on my door, I had to come out on the porch and talk to you because there was no place to sit down. I've since learned how to clean up the clutter, and I like having the living room. You can knock on my door any time of day or night, and you will always be welcome. It will always be clean and cleared up, no clutter. And if I'm doing something, sorting out stuff, I'll do it on the living room floor because I know it won't stay there. It's cleaned up before I go to bed. If it was on my office floor, it would still be there the next day, next week. So I have learned a lot about cleaning up the clutter, and I even teach a class at UC's Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. It's an 8-week class. It starts again in May, and I do it I don't do all the winter semester, but I do the fall semester in the spring. And I have helped many, many people. I teach them how to organize their clothes, how to get rid of. One man got rid of 50 shirts. He still had about 40. But I teach them how to minimize and get rid of things they don't need. And my other passion, my third one, is defensive driver training. Back in 1964, for the Milford Business and Professional Women's Club, I helped teach a defensive driving class with the Ohio State Patrol. And the one thing I learned was the 310 rule. Every 3 seconds, when the car in front of you passes a pole, a sign, you count 1, 2, 3. If you pass that pole before 3, you are tailgating. If they slam on their brakes, you are into them. And it's your fault because you're supposed to drive with an assured clear distance ahead. Another rule is that the 10-second is every 10 seconds you're looking out the rear view window and on the side so you know what is around you. You know if somebody stops suddenly whether you can get over in the other lane and avoid the accident or not. And one of the things that I would like to see, Ohio does not do this, but other states do, something called a zipper merge. When one lane merges into the other, if each car will go 1, 1, 1 like a zipper. In fact, in some states, you have to be in that lane until the zipper merge. And cars will get through 25% faster. And when I was coming from Hamilton Ice Show a couple years ago, my friend, it said, road, this lane is closed a mile ahead, and I zipped over there. I was having a hard time trying to make the left turn. So I zipped over in that empty lane. Carol, what are you doing here? It's closed a mile. I'm going, yeah, I'm going up and merge. And somebody always lets me in because I always let people in. If you want to take my right of way, you may have it because that takes less time than having an accident. And I used to, before I learned that, I was going, you can hit my fender. I don't care if you hit my fender. You're not going to get in. And I learned that if you were driving from downtown on Columbia Parkway to Delta Avenue, and every time you dropped back, a car took your free space, and you had to drop back again. If they did that whole distance, you would lose 1 minute and 45 seconds. That is not worth it to not let someone have your right away. I've learned a lot with Toastmasters, and I stay because it thrills me to see other people learning and growing. And I challenge you to learn something new every day and to help share that with others and help them to find a great one of them. Madam Toastmaster. 2 minutes. Welcome back. Our final speaker this evening, we're very privileged to be having Phil Barth, who is practicing his contest speech. It's a non-manual speech, but it is 5 to 7. He's going to be a contestant at the International Speech Contest, and this is very important with the timing because it's 5 to 7 minutes, and if you're allowed 30 seconds on either end of that, and if you go less than 4 minutes and 30 seconds, which I know he won't do, or more than 7 minutes and 30 seconds, you are disqualified. So we are very strict on time for the International Conference. And I would like to welcome Phil Barth, getting Mr. Red out of my head. Phil Barth.
If I were to tell this half of the room to look around and see all the red that is in this room, and if I were to tell this half of the room to look around and see all the green that is in the room, you would both be equally amazed by the red or the green things you saw. Things would pop out to you, and you would notice them. But here's the secret. They were there all along. You just need to know what to look for. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, there are two people in my head that fight for control. Mr. Red wants me to see the rotten, the bad, the things that make him stop. Mr. Green wants me to see the good, the go, the great. And on this particular day in June, it's so green, I gotta wear shades. I know, Tom Cruise. The week was bad. I was tempted by Mr. Red. I mean, there was the late flights. There was the missing rental car. There was the hotel buffet that ran out of frosted mini-wheats. But now, it's all behind me. And I'm packing and getting ready to go on a trip with my family to Mammoth Cave for some spelunking. Well, a cave tour. I really like these sunglasses. I mean, it's a bright day out there. It's green. I'm just loving these sunglasses because they fit really well. In fact, there is just enough room between the lens and my eye to fit one adult wasp. Now, an adult wasp, according to the internet, is 3/4 of an inch long. This will be our wasp. When a 3/4 of an inch long wasp sits on top of an eye that opens about this wide, it looks like a pterodactyl. And if you ever find yourself in the spot where you have a pterodactyl wasp sitting on top of your open eye, there is one thing you should never, ever do. You should not close that eye really, really tight. By the way, should you ever find yourself in that situation, there is one thing you will, without fail, do. You will close that eye really, really tight. And when you do, the wasp will do what wasps like to do. And if you're like me, and you've been in Toastmasters for a long time, and you've learned a lot of words of the day on purpose, your vocabulary's fairly decent. But in that moment, my vocabulary shrunk down to 12 words, and 5 of them were dirty. I threw the glasses off. I said, "Oh, son of a one. Two. That 3, 4 stung me." The kids are standing off the side going, Dad's going to say, 5. No, man can't get stung in the eye. I'll say 5. I did not disappoint them. Instead, I stepped forward onto my glasses. And then things really got bad. Oh! My prescription Ray-Bans! This thing cost me $255. The worst part of all of this was I'm sitting there, eyes swollen shut. Nobody's taking me seriously. How could they? I look like Peg Leg Profanity Pirate Phil. Arr, he stung me eye. Well, they say time heals all wounds. And if you throw in an ice pack, it did. The sting was gone. But I was holding on to the venom. Mr. Red was in my head, and Mr. Green had left the scene. All the way down to Mammoth Cave. Till we stopped at a Dairy Queen. We got in the Dairy Queen, got some Oreos, Oreo Blizzard. Still wasn't in a great mood. When we got out, I said, okay, I'm gonna back up here. We're good, we're good, we're good. All right, guys, you're watching back there. Okay, I gotta just turn it forward and boom! The right fender. $500 deductible. My vocabulary now went down to 9 words. All 9 were dirty. You'd have thought I was reciting pi to 1,000 decimal places. 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 9. My kids are off the side going, "Hi, that's a new one. Nice." Looked at my wife, and suddenly I realized I had 9 too many words in my vocabulary. It needed to go to 0. So the rest of the trip, I said nothing. I was thinking, down here, had to go down here, spend all that money on the deductible just to see a hole in the ground. Could have stayed home and watched the dog feed one for free. Then I thought, why are we even going here? My son Tom has problems seeing in the dark. Last I heard, caves are cold and dark. Next day we got to the parking lot. Of course, the parking lot was falling. It's all asphalt somehow. So we drove to a parking lot that was about halfway back to the hotel. Walked in, and then I got in the cave. And I didn't see the cave through my eyes. I saw him through my son Tom's eyes. The guide had an ultra bright flashlight, and he would shine it on the stalagmites and the stalactites. And he would shine it on the cave crickets. And he told Tom stories about cave shrimp. And Tom said, "Do they serve?" No, they are not on the menu anywhere, Tom. He told him stories about the bats and stories about the cave. And suddenly I realized this is why I put up with the delays at the airport. This is why I put up with the rental cars that aren't there. This is why I put up with this, the missing frosted balloons. It was to experience this green moment with my son. Ladies and gentlemen, you had the choice to look at life through the red or the green lens. And there will be times when the sting will hit you and you will see red. But how long you do is up to you. I encourage you, look for the green, for yourself and for everyone else. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Phil. And be sure to give him some good feedback on what he has done well. And if there's anything you didn't understand, let him know that also.
Yes.
And we have 4 minutes of silence for the evaluator, if you need that, Sean. You don't need that much? What night? 7:23. Well, actually, I'm 7 minutes fast. It's 7:16. I don't know how to set my watch. My son has done. It's really 7:16. I think my watch is 7 minutes fast. Is that right? 7:16.
4 minutes of silence?
Well, he said he didn't need 4 minutes. 2 will be fine. Okay, we will now come to the evaluation part of the meeting. That's the best part of Toastmasters. You receive immediate feedback on what you did well, what you could do better, what your strengths are. And to lead this next portion of the meeting will be Sean Gallagher. He's an Advanced Communicator Gold and a Advanced Leader Bronze. Let us welcome Sean Gallagher.
So I'm starting out as the general evaluator, but as general evaluator, I'll hand it to myself 4 different times as the evaluator. You might say to yourself, why is this going on? The purpose behind this is because I'm going to compete in the evaluation contest and get as much evaluation practice as I can. So there you have it. Whether you like it or not, it's too bad. It's already set. Phil Barth. Getting Mr. Red out of my head. To begin with, one of the things I like the best about Phil is he's really good at getting rhymes that make sense. He had a lot of them. Rhymes like, I've got red in my head, or green has left the scene. You've done that all throughout your speech, and it really pleases the audience. It brings us a little bit of fun and helps us remember some of the things you're saying, obviously. Good beginning. If I were to say to this side of the room, if I were to say to this side of the room, you brought us all in together, separated us and gave us a purpose, right? I don't know if you can change it, but it'd be fun if you actually segmented and gave us that task. But then, how do you get the other side not to think about the color that the other side is? Good luck there. Just a thought. You've got a lot of humor all the way throughout. You bring this into your life, into your craziness inside your head, but very self-deprecating, and it's fun to laugh with you at yourself. The audience is drawn into that immediately. The numbers were outstanding. That was hilarious. That's what I liked the best about the speech. In that, first, okay, so he's talking about, he gives us 14, he gives us 5, and you start blurting out the numbers, but the way that you then stitch that back into $255, so the numbers and the cuss word, and I think you also did $500 deductible, another true number that was a cuss word wrapped into it. That was fun for me, and I think for the rest of the audience as well. Some of the things I think I'd like you to consider. You are high energy all the time. I know that about you. When you get genned up, sometimes I think your speed and your thoughts, you trip over a couple words that don't come out as clear as they could. There was something you were, I wish I knew exactly what it was you were trying to say, but through one of these sections, there was a word that came out I couldn't get from it. So consider that sometimes when you get really excited, think about the way you're verbalizing. The other thing about June is it didn't sound to me like you were taking it to the moment in June, the way you introduced it. And you probably meant to say this, but you didn't. This one particular June, or during the month of June, I want to let us know you're sharing that story with us in a time frame as you're introducing the fall.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the ending in that you brought us back to your trip and your personal journey to say, now this is why I did all this. I had these moments, they were almost horrible, they sucked, but I realized it's because of the time I get to spend with my son and seeing the world through his eyes and his perspective. That was very helpful. But then you invited us to do the same thing. You brought your audience into a challenge and encouragement to also think about looking at life in that way. The only thing I'm going to leave you with, and I'll like to do the sandwich method, but I have to touch on this. I've seen you speak many times, always excellent, but this time there was something about, there was an uneasiness or an uncertainty in your full presentation. Almost like you didn't feel like you were practiced or polished enough.
Because I wasn't.
It was very
polished
slight.
enough.
It was very slight,
No, you're absolutely
but
right.
I felt like you weren't the Phil Barth most of us are used to seeing. It wasn't exactly there. Something, so maybe behind your comfort level and your practice and whatever, I picked up on it, only because I know what I've seen from you before. I'm not sure if other audience members new to your speeches would have seen it, but I think it's important to know for you.
No, you're absolutely right. I wrote the conclusion on the way over here.
Okay,
So
but
I'm still, you've seen it twice and it's still a
You're
work
still
in
working
progress.
through
But you're spot on, and that's really good feedback, because I know I need to look at the video and then practice it and get it down
Use that
pat.
there. Yep, good point. That's all I want to share now. I don't know what my timing is.
Sorry, I cut into it.
No, it's okay, because I also have to stay within my time.
Well, right now it is 7:23, but I did not time.
That I spoke?
No.
Oh, 7:23,
Its
okay.
actual time is 7:23.
And no worries. What I'm going to do is write some of this down and email to you, because I might not have touched on everything I think you need to
Thank
add.
you so much.
That way you've got it in writing as well.
This is very
So-
helpful. I really appreciate it.
Fun speech, fun listening to it. Good luck on your next step with it. Mr. General Evaluator. Thank you, Mr. Evaluator. So I'm going to say as a club, we appreciate you speaking and being here with us. Feel free to leave when you need to. None of us wants to deal with an angry family member that isn't being picked up on time. And I don't know what traffic
I'm
weather
gonna,
like.
yeah, I better go ahead with this.
Yep.
Guys, thank you so much. Thank you. Email me with any feedback. I'm sure it's on the site somewhere, but I'll put it on any feedback you have, anything, any questions. Enjoy telling the story, but I know you're spot on. It needs more work. That's the nature. I won't go to a contest and write the conclusion on the way there.
You'll get there. We have faith.
I like the triads and your rockets.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely.
I noticed your triads right away.
You did that too. I'm going to give you that feedback. All right, now we're going to move backward. I'm going to confuse you all so terribly with these evaluations. We're going to move backward to our first speaker's socket. And actually, Carol, let's talk about his time. What did you time him at?
I timed him
Thanks, Bill.
at
We'll see you.
6 minutes, 27 seconds.
Okay. And that was good for our CC manual because I gave you credit on the second speech. It was different if you were doing a Pathways icebreaker. So depending on how we're recording it, you did well if it wasn't an icebreaker, if that makes sense. Okay.
Because I didn't see the time that time. Did you clap that?
Yeah, I was sitting here.
We were using cards.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's why I had the yellow up.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
That's
Oh,
okay.
Sorry, I thought we had to.
And even I was not sure who is timing.
Oh, next time we have to.
You're not in trouble, that's okay. So socket, I don't know how many people here have thought about blockchain and Bitcoin and some of the stuff that's going on with cryptocurrency. And it's the new wave out there because it combines technology and cash and investments and all that great stuff a lot of people want. I enjoyed your presentation and your decision to deliver this because you did give us some insight on things I hadn't thought about with this. You started out with a question. I say a question is a great way to start your speech, get you rolling in the direction you want to go, and get your audience brought in. So you asked how many of you know, and I think you said about cryptocurrency, blockchain, and or Bitcoin, right? You asked a question right away. And then you gave examples about the nations and their currencies. And for me, you conceptualize as saying, think about the internet as a country, and this is the currency. So that's helpful just to start out at that level. Good explanation about the difference in exchange rates, the difference of if I was using traditional banks, and the fees that would go through, and how to go through that. And I think you told me if you were on Skype with your wife from US to India, you could send her currency, dollars, in that fashion, electronically. Is that what the gist of that was, right? That just blows me away. Because I understood it, but I didn't get, before you spoke about it, I understood the concept, but I didn't get how simplistic it could be. So I thank you for that. The one thing I think would have helped me a little more, maybe the rest of your audience, is the exchange rate. But the dollar translating into currency and Bitcoins, how's that work? Because I would have thought, here's my American dollars, my US dollars. If I'm sending through Bitcoin, how do the dollars actually translate and then get delivered? You didn't go much into that. I would have wanted more of that. You used no notes, which was really good. You told us you researched this. You did a lot of background knowledge digging, and you delivered it in a much more comfortable fashion than your first speech. I didn't see any nervousness. I didn't see you hesitating or feeling uncomfortable. You made great eye contact. You moved on both sides of the stage. So for a second speech, you took a lot of the input and feedback we gave from the first one and made your improvements. So great job there. I would have still suggested a few more pauses between major. I'll say this to everybody in the world. It's my crutch for evaluating is just get some of the pauses in, and then maybe a summary that would give us a few more high-level bits of information you already shared. That's what the summary really is. So I felt like you halted and finished up real quick and sat down. So just work on taking a few more minutes, 2 or 3 sentences for a summary. Tell us what you already told us, and then finish up from there. But outstanding improvement from your first speech, and a lot of good points I think that you improved on and took from what we gave you before. All right, I'm done with that one. How's my time on that? Well, you're not timing me. Okay, you got 2 more chances to time me. All right, let's see. So, Suzanne. Pathways icebreaker. Second speech for you. Third? Okay. You told us you were trying without notes. Because I think the last speech I saw you deliver, it was this way. And that's okay in the beginning. But you made a conscious effort, and it showed. I didn't feel like you were reading from. Many of us have something here just to remind us in front of us, oh, okay, here's where I go next. You did a very good job of using notes, but still working with the audience. You had your notes here. Your comfort level on the stage has improved. You stood with very confident body language. One of the interesting things was, as you were speaking about your childhood memories, you showed it. Your face, your eyes, your smile, the way you spoke. It's interesting because we all have that, but you visualized it as well as verbalized it, and that was a lot of fun. You have a conversational tone. So when you're speaking, you're not speaking to us, you're speaking with us. You're having a dialogue back and forth. And that makes you a very comfortable speaker and allows the audience to follow you and get wrapped up with what you're saying, almost like a movie. People can actually get wrapped up in your conversation and your speech because of that quality. You used humor, which was a pleasant surprise. Some of the things you brought us to laugh at. I'm wondering how much dirt I ate at that point, because it's true for generations that have been around for a while, that we're not using antibacterial stuff. We're not always cleaning things as we're growing up. We're playing outdoor all day long and eating. It just goes with the territory. That was good. And the Bigfoot point about being alone in the woods and swearing you heard Bigfoot outside your cabin or outside your room. That was good humor. You brought the audience into that one as well. On the conclusion, like I said to Saket, try to summarize some of the high-level points. As you're finishing up, just say, and in summary, or just to conclude, these are the points I wanted to deliver. These are my memories, whatever you want to say, or these are the things about me. Just 2 or 3 points, bring this back, and then finish from there. So that is about the only thing I think you need to work on improving specifically. Everything else gave us a really good speech. I appreciate you sharing with us. We're looking forward to more in the future.
3 minutes, 6 seconds.
How many minutes?
3 minutes, 6 seconds.
Yes! Less than 3:30. All right. Now, Carol. Carol Cornblank. Pathways icebreaker as well, right?
Right.
You started out, and I know you didn't plan on this ahead of time. So you started out about 21 years in Toastmasters, here comes your new beginning, goes pathways. But you pointed back to some of the things Suzanne said and said, and didn't do it like this, it wasn't ditto or me too, but you pointed back and made connections to her speech, which in the middle of something you're trying to deliver is good, because it gives us the idea that you are, what's the word I want to use, self-aware. And you're aware of what's going on around you, and you can do a little bit of tweaking in your speech. I watch David Levy do that all the time. And I'm amazed when he does it in a speech contest and speaks from stage trying to win the contest and talks about somebody 4 speeches ago that talked about this and trying to bring that back and infuse it in his speech. That was a very good quality to use there. I love the humor about cockroaches, eating cockroaches, hissing cockroaches, and how terrible they are for you. Because like Suzanne did with her childhood, you went the opposite way. Your disgust and displeasure showed everywhere. You made a grimace of a face. And how terrible, even today, your memory of hissing cockroaches were. So that was a really good body language moment for you. One of the things I'm going to give you as something to work on, you like to share with us what I consider stream of consciousness. And sometimes it might not have been planned to be in the speech, and it takes us off task some. I'm trying to give you an example. If I could read my notes here. It's not going to help you much if I'm not giving you this example. Let me get back to that. But consider the fact that sometimes you're rolling with Toastmasters, the zoo, and clutter, but something else brought a thought to your mind, and you went off on a tangent for more than 2 or 3 seconds, or 2 or 3 minutes, sentences.
And she had the defensive driving thing in there too.
Yeah.
Right? And then mentioned 3 points.
Okay, that's a good point. Consider sticking on 3 or 4 points and staying with them, because that stream of consciousness sometimes get you and us off topic. But
I know that.
clean, clear, no. Again, that triad, that 3 sounds coming together, or it's not alliteration, it's a triad. You did that well. The zipper merge, I smiled and laughed because that's my biggest pet peeve, and I bet everyone here would agree with that. We would all do so much better with that zipper merge, and why doesn't it happen in the Ohio Valley? I don't know. Because many other places across this country that many of us have been understand it and do it. What's wrong with Cincinnati drivers anyway? The only other thing I want you to do is take a breath once in a while. Give yourself that break. Breathe in, exhale, and move on. But other than that, this was a very interesting, funny, and your conclusion was very strong. You did very well at wrapping up your speech, finishing it, and getting away from the podium. So, nice job there. How'd I do on the timing on that one?
4 minutes, sir.
I'm never going to do it. I can't get under 3 minutes very often. All right, so that was the whole evaluation. Yours is in your manual. I will write up physically your 2 evaluations. I couldn't get the time to put it down in writing that you can read, and I'll get that back to you in writing. And that's it for the speech evaluations. As general evaluator, our next reports. So grammarian, I'll count. I'm going to bring up Carol. You can do it from there. Give us your grammarian report, please.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. And actually, I brought the word of the day. I wasn't really prepared to do the grammarian part of it. I didn't hear anybody say ums and uhs. And I did hear Sean say the word of the day at least 3 times. I heard Phil say it, and I heard other people. I didn't write it on down because I forgot that I was doing that with all the other things I was doing. And you did well. I didn't hear the ahs and ums. didn't hear the killer filler words, so the next time we will do better with the grammarian report. And thank you for using purpose.
Nice job. This was a busy meeting. We had a lot of things to juggle. And now, Suzanne, don't worry about the evaluation times. You can skip it. Please give us your timer report.
I will, thank you. Okay, times. For the first speaker, for Sackett, it was supposed to be 4 to 6 minutes, and it was 6 minutes and 27 seconds, so not bad. For the second speaker, which was yours truly, 4 to 6 minutes, and I did 6 minutes and 36 seconds. And for the third speaker, Carol Cormelink, it was supposed to be 4 to 6 minutes, and it was 8 minutes. Speaker number 4, Phil Barth, he was supposed to do 5 to 7 minutes, and it was 6 minutes and 52 seconds, so he kept it just under the 7 minutes. And evaluator, well, somewhere between 3 minutes and 4 minutes for all of the different evaluations. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne.
You're amazing, John, that you can do all that. That's just, blows my mind since I hate evaluations. Doing them, I love receiving them and like.
I think this was a fun, exciting, interesting meeting with all the different speakers we had, with all the different levels of speeches, everybody's improvements. And Carol, you did a great job getting this together. Getting the meeting started, sending out the email reminders, bringing all the paperwork you have to. Thanks for being Toastmaster today. And congratulations, Dave, on being the presiding president for the first time as an officer, correct?
Correct.
How'd it go? Okay. Well, you get to close the meeting out, too.
Okay.
So now I'm going to turn it over to the Toastmaster to finish us up, and she'll go from there. Carol Cormelink.
Thank you for the fantastic evaluations. That was I really appreciate you, Sean, and that you're so dedicated to Toastmasters. One of the things I do like to do as a Toastmaster is to ask Jason, this is his second time visiting, or is it your third?
Second.
Second. And do you have any comments that you would like to make?
I actually brought a check this time, so
Yeah!
I'm gonna become a member. That's a good comment, I think.
Very good. Our newest member,
It's a great group. so.
Jason Duncan, right.
And I'd have to tell Saket that it sounds like you have a real personal interest in all that technology stuff.
Yeah,
and
being
that's
a
great
technology.
because I've been playing. I actually did stuff with that starting 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, is
So us techno guys have to hang together as much as we can.
Very good. Does anyone else have anything to say? And actually, I would like to see something change in this. When I looked at the roster, the agenda this morning, there was nothing filled out. There was, well, we had the 3 speakers, but all the rest of the agenda was practically blank. And people say, I will sign up online, and then they don't. And Sean had sent, because he wasn't signed up online, but he had sent me an email. And I'm going, oh, well, I didn't see the email because I didn't have time for my email. So if we could do it a little better, and perhaps maybe by a couple days before the meeting, go in and log in and sign up on what you're going to do and put your introduction. Every speech should have an introduction of why should we listen to you and what are your credentials for giving us this speech at this time. That's what an introduction is. We should all be doing that, and I think it's great. We have a good group, and we will be building. Dave has already, will probably tell us about the publicity that he's sent out, and I'm just thrilled with it. So I'd like to return control of the meeting to our president, to our presiding officer, Dave Belmonte. Thank you.
Well, it was a very interesting meeting, and with the 4 speakers. And they had a lot of personal interest they shared with us and their background, and I thought that was kind of interesting from Suzanne about her past from Austria, and I like Carol with the thing about the zipper. You know, it's like I know that I'm like that too. It's like they're on 32 and Glenessee Woodensville Road there. You go up there and you're gonna make a left-hand turn there in front of Meyer right there on the Glenessee Woodensville, and people will get in that left lane, and their intentions is they're going to make a right-hand turn on old 74. And what they do, instead of getting that far right lane, they get in that left lane and they want to race. And that just gets in my crawl because I'm not going to let them over. I waited, and I think they can wait as well.
Do you know for the community journal, because they're going to do away with that, they'll be rising over that. You won't have to make those turns.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think, they're supposed not to have any turn lanes or anything or traffic lights on 32
Right.
once they get that construction all done, but that's going to be way down the road. And I'm kind of excited about the pathways because I've only been here since October, and I took this sheet here that they've got the 10 pathways listed on, and I read each one of them, and I have not taken the assessment yet. So, but I've kind of chosen like the 3 so far, so I'm going to see how that assessment works out with what I read, and see how that kind of lines up. This is our open house ad that's going to be in the paper, or not, well, not in the paper, but it's going to be online, and it could be in the paper. So I'm going to get that submitted tomorrow or Monday. I had to get my wife to help me because she got the account, and I don't know what the password is to get into Cincinnati.com. So
So what papers that's going to be in?
that's going to be on Cincinnati.com.
This is the Inquirer.
The Inquirer. So if anybody has any other input or anything, we'll go ahead and close the meeting.